Hi, I'm Nate Hagerty. I am the founder of TaxProMarketer and AdvisorProMarketer and our agency here, which has evolved over the years, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Because maybe like you in your practice development, you were like us some years ago. We've built up this agency to where we have 20 plus employees. We are in the Inc. 5000 list. We're a lot more established. We've been going since 2007, so it's quite some time. And so a lot of things have shifted and changed, and we thought that it would be useful to take a moment to share with you some of the evolution of how our agency has grown, how our practice really has evolved into this place where we are known in the entire accounting and tax world for having a remarkable culture and a remarkable team. And we get asked all the time by clients, how is it that you have someone like Christian Jones working for you, and he's worked for you for years and years and years, and tell me about your team and all the different people that are on our team. Because without fail, when you interact with our team, you'll discover we have an amazing group of people who work here at TaxProMarketer and AdvisorProMarketer. And this is something that we've learned over the last few years to start talking more and more about, because we've discovered that what we do here is a little bit rare. We're going to tell you a brief storyline of how this evolved, because it was not something that we thought we'd ever be known for. It was not something that
set out to do.
We didn't set out to do this, because when we started, it was Troy and I. When we started this company, Troy was a part-time employee in the very beginning. I found him coming out of full-time ministry, and he was in a career transition stage, and I was just getting started, and I need somebody like him to help me build. And I thought it would just be kind of me and Troy kind of conquering the world together. As we built and grew, we realized Troy, the leader that he is, first of all, quickly established himself as a partner to me, and he is a partner now. But we needed to build a team for him and for me as we grew, because we knew as the leaders of the company, we needed to keep our heads clear so that we could build, strategize, grow, have a focus on growth and serving our clients as well as possible. And that required us to have that 10,000 foot level. Now, a lot of CPAs and tax practitioners that we work with are at that moment where they've got a few people maybe in their world, and they are in this transition stage of moving from sole proprietor, I'm going to serve all my clients myself, to building a real practice. And so that moment is when culture matters the most, and that's what we've discovered.
Yeah, I think that's good, because whether you intentionally are cultivating a culture or not, culture is happening.
That's right.
Culture is developing in your organization. So you have the opportunity as the business owner to develop a culture that you actually want to be a part of, that you actually want to have around you when you go into the office, or log into your computer. So this is something you get to decide if you're intentional about it, or you can just let it happen and kind of just be stuck in whatever culture happens to develop around you based on the people you hire and the way that they come in with the values that they come in with. So this is an opportunity, is kind of how you can look at it.
Right. So for us, the way this started, again, I've given you some of the thumbnail that we started hiring other people. We started growing a little bit. We had, when we started really seriously talking about this, there were probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 people in our world. Mm-hmm. And we encountered a couple different organizations that were talking about vision and values in a business. And frankly, our first response was soft. It doesn't matter. We're just going to go grow businesses. We're going to get leads, follow up with them, sales orientation, for our clients and for ourselves. We're a marketing company. Vision and values, bleh. But then as it kind of worked its way into us, and we continued to manage growth, because we were growing, at 10 to 30% every year, and our team just grew, we realized that we were doing some things that we needed to start naming. And as standard operating procedures, SOPs, developed, and we had a multiplying number of them because we needed to build, to serve clients at scale suddenly. We also realized that there were SOPs related to how we communicate and how we treat one another that bled out of me and Troy as people, and that will be one of the first points, is that your vision and your culture really will bleed from you. And so you've got to kind of set your mind around what kind of leader you want to be.
It's a reflection of what you actually value and what you want to value.
Right.
Yeah.
We finally agreed to kind of put ourselves through this process of vision and values. And then later on, we decided, culture is actually what we're really doing. Because the way we define it, which is different from a lot of people, is the vision is where you're going. The values is like how you're going to get there. And the culture is the atmosphere that you create as you go.
So we actually name a number of things under each of these categories and kind of go into detail with them.
Yeah, and we'll share those with you. Talk about that first kind of experience of building out the vision and values and what that was like.
Yeah, well, and I think as you said, it really was an articulating of things that we had already kind of been trying to live into for a while as a company and with our team. Especially in terms of the cultural things and some of the value things, these were things that we talked with our team about all the time. When we were onboarding new team members, we would communicate very clearly how we expected communication to happen internally, what was appropriate, what was not appropriate, how different members of the team should be reached out to about different kinds of questions or problems, how to approach different kinds of problems, how to think about your work, how to approach your work, how to deal with things that come up. So we would talk about these things, of course, in our training, which was, sometimes systematized in some ways and sometimes less so in other seasons of the business. But we were very clear on communicating, how to communicate internally, just certain things that kind of became a part of our culture. So when we did this exercise, as you were saying, it really was just kind of a distilling and articulating of not only what we expect, but also what we want to be aiming for. Like, how do we aim high here? What do we want? What's true to us? I think there has to be an element of authenticity in these things. If you're naming, values and cultural things that you want to be true, but they're just aspirational, and then you're not actually doing anything to kind of set the tone of those things. You're not actually pursuing those things, but you would just like that to be the case. It's too dreamy. It's not realistic. That's not going to resound well, and people aren't really going to take to it because they're going to see that it's not truly the way things are. So
right, I'll give you an example. One of our values is forgiveness before permission, and we talk about that a lot with our team. And what that means is we want our employees and the people in our world to be innovating and growing and pushing the envelope. And even with dealing with clients, we want them to be able to make calls that they don't have to involve us in every micro detail for, because we need to be, again, keeping ourselves at that higher level. But having that value of forgiveness before permission, again, go out there, fail, employee, requires that when they do fail, we actually do forgive them. A lot of people talk the big talk about these sort of values, but they actually don't have a pattern of being forgiving. And so some of that requires the employee to demonstrate that they're trustworthy enough to be forgiven, and their general body of work is such that when they make a mistake, it's not like the pattern, right? But it also requires the leader to be able to have that kind of fortitude to be able to extend that, branch of forgiveness when the failure happens. And really, a lot of these things come down to some higher level leadership, looking in the mirror, soul searching, yeah. that you as a leader, you need to embark upon. So
in some ways, it's holding yourself to a standard.
Yes. Realizing kind of at the core level, what are you trying to do in your practice? What question are you answering as a business owner? That's a really important question for you to think about. Because if you're trying to answer fundamental questions about identity, and you're trying to answer deep questions of who you are as a woman or a man by the results of your business, then you're in trouble. And if you are looking to your business to answer those questions about your deep reality of who you are, then you've got problems. Because in that environment, you are not able to extend forgiveness. In that environment, when you are looking to your business to answer all of your questions, your culture will be a culture of grasping, reaching, stress, lack of forgiveness, and a lot of pain, because you are constantly holding tightly to the results of your business because it's a fundamental, reflection of who you are as a person. So that's the kind of soul searching that we invite you to do even before this process and get clear on. Now, a lot of you might already be clear in those areas, and so the values that will spill out of you as you set your culture will be ones that you can actually abide by, instead of just mouthing them, right? So that's some of the work that you and I had to do in the beginning.
That's true. No, that's true. That's true. Well, I was just going to add that all this said, it's okay for some of those to be aspirational. Some of ours were and continue to be aspirational to some extent. You want to have something to aim for, and that's part of the idea behind some of the vision. And again, we'll go into that more. But having mission statement, vision, it's okay to have something that you're aiming high for as a company that it speaks to what you really want to be pursuing. It's okay to have values that are kind of aspirational. You just want to name that. You just want to say this is what we want to be.
Yeah, right. So for example, in the vision section, so again, I talked about vision is where you're going. Values is how you're getting there. Culture is the atmosphere of what it looks like when you go. And again, you can look at the slide deck. But one of our visions early on was we're going to be the foremost marketing agency for the tax and accounting world. When we created that vision, it was aspirational. Right. It is now the case that we are. We are the leading marketing agency in our industry and have been for some years now. That's a direction that we chose to fight for and pursue, and we're there now. Doesn't mean we're fat and happy. We're constantly on the bleeding edge and trying to continue to grow and build out so that our leadership of the other agencies out there is positive. But again, that was aspirational when we started it.
That's a perfect example. I think another example of something that can stay aspirational, and that's okay, is one of our culture things is that we lean into encouragement, trust, and praise. Recognition. So this is something that we kind of have to push ourselves to do all the time, right? Like it's not always natural to publicly recognize or to praise someone for something good that they did, but we want to always be pushing ourselves to be doing that and stating that as an aspirational thing where everyone knows this is an aspirational thing we're trying to do. It actually does get you into doing it, and you're acknowledging that this isn't natural. So some of these are things that are, these spill out of us. We just want to name it. Some of these are things that we want to actually be aspiring to. And so a lot of the process of putting them together was just a kind of a blend of those things. What do we want to be true? What is core to us? Like this is like a line in the sand. Like we will fight for this. But putting those together, I think we thought, this, it's probably something good to do. Like you said, we'd heard some sources that said, this is good. We thought it was just kind of fuzzy for a while.
Nice idea.
Yeah. But we'd noticed, I think, enough in the early days. I think we sort of had started stumbling into some of these cultural values just by kind of back to what we were speaking to earlier, having the opportunity to set the culture that you want in your business. We just kind of like early on just recognized things that like we didn't want to stand for in our company culture. We didn't want gossip and backbiting. We didn't want negativity. We didn't want certain communication to happen in certain ways. We just realized those were core to us and things we really cared about.
We didn't want lower level people going kind of up the chain to complain about their supervisor, things like that.
Yeah. And so we kind of fought for those things, really just out of a desire to kind of not hate the company that we were building, not hate the culture that we were working in every day.
We wanted to enjoy our work.
Right. Yeah. And so we fought for these things. And so when we kind of got to the point where we decided to name these things, it was really just kind of pulling together some of those things, adding on to a bit. But we really kind of just thought, hey, this seems like a good idea. Really smart people say you should do it. Let's give it a shot. Maybe it'll help some people in the company to feel like they kind of know what we're trying to do around here. But it was received, I think, a lot better than we expected and made a much bigger impact than we expected. Do you want to speak to that more?
Yeah. What I want to end with is you maybe talk about how we use that now, but let me tell you what we see in terms of what that looks like now. So if you look us up on Glassdoor, which is a rating site that employees will kind of compare their experiences working at different companies, look us up there and you'll see the fruit of what we've built here. And you'll see not our words, but what our team says about, two other prospective people. We have people that will, like in our local area in Kansas City, are dying to work here. I mean, hiring is so almost easy now because we bring people into our world and they get a little bit of a taste of it and they realize how different the experience is working in our world compared to like a lot of small businesses, a lot of big businesses, medium-sized. It's a unique culture that people can connect to here. So this has made hiring so much smoother for us, and we have a roster of people who are literally waiting for an opportunity to come work for us.
Because our employees' friends tell them they're interested in a job at their workplace if it ever opens up.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I have like banker friends, other entrepreneur friends in the local community, and they're like, one of our employees was talking to his friends who work for him, and he's like, you got to stop, you got to stop your employee telling my friends about what your business, because it's killing me over here.
And it's not because people want to hang out with you and me.
Right.
It's not some amazing benefits package, that we're
right.
able to offer.
We don't pay top of level, salary. I mean,
but it's none of that drives it.
Yeah.
It's the culture.
Exactly. And so we've got this amazing thing, and that's part of what I think a lot of small businesses really struggle with these days, is attracting good talent and building kind of people, building their team into what they want it to be. A lot of people are very frustrated with their team. And so that's what we've experienced from this. It has provided the bones around which everything that we do here now operates. Yes. And so why don't you end with kind of how we use it now, the vision, values, culture, and kind of what that looks like just now.
Yeah. So every employee that comes in their onboarding process, gets kind of inculcated into these things, that we communicate the vision, the values, the culture to them. It gets talked about by the person who's training them on the team. They watch some videos where it's recorded. And then every year or two, we kind of go through it as a whole team. We go through it very kind of slowly, and we talk through every single one, every point of vision, every point of values, every point of culture. And
we interrogate it with our team.
Yeah. And we kind of both talk through what this does mean, what this doesn't mean, what this looks like.
Are there new things to add?
Apply for it.
Yeah.
Right. We review it every time we do this. We also review it and just see is there anything we need to update and amend? And I would also recommend that practice. Just as your business evolves, you may decide that what I thought was an important value to me earlier on no longer makes sense for the kind of business we are now. And so you may amend them and adapt them over time, as we have. That's actually how the culture segment of that kind of came out of it. We just realized some things were not actually values. They were just kind of how we want things to look like, that the atmosphere, how we want them to feel while we're on our way to those things in our vision. So we communicate these regularly. They're things we refer back to constantly in our team meetings. We have a weekly all team meeting that everybody shows up to, and that's for across all departments. Everybody's there, and we use time in that where we talk about different things, where we'll regularly reference back to different points of vision, values, culture, and why that's important, and how that speaks to this, or how this intersects with this. But we will also, again, just kind of go through the whole thing. Team members can ask questions. As you said, we interrogate it. We give the opportunity for people to raise a hand and say, well, if that's our value, how come this happens? We give that opportunity for people to speak if they want to, and we invite those conversations. And we look for ways that we could be abiding by these a bit better. And we give people the opportunity to kind of say, hey, speaking of that value, I saw so-and-so employee doing this last week, and I noticed that this other employee does this all the time in this way, and this is what it looks like, and then that's an encouragement to everybody thing to see how this should look in practice. So, I mean, we hire and fire and manage to them. Frankly, it's if we are interviewing someone and we don't think that they would be able to fit in with some of these kind of core principles of who we are as a company, as a team, they're not going to be a fit for us to hire. Yeah. If in those first few months, we kind of set a 3-month time period that we sort of evaluate whether someone is a good fit for our company when they join the team. And one of the things we're looking at strongly is, more above almost, a lot of other things besides maybe skills, alongside skills, is are they going to be able to fit into this culture of these values and this culture that we have?
So this is, we can go into a lot more.
We could.
But this is an intro, because you go into some of this stuff in future videos, I think. So what we try to do here is just kind of paint a picture and give you a vision. We want to give you an idea of where this can go and how it can become a foundational stone, not just building a great lifestyle practice for you and your team, but building something that you love, an environment that you just, dang it, you want to go to the office. And that's what it feels like for us. We love our work, and it's not just because we love marketing, which we do, but it's actually we love the place that this is, and we love coming here and interacting with our team. And it's not because they all came in kind of, out of the womb, so to speak, like being people that we really enjoyed. It's just the culture here is so thick and so strong that it makes it so that work is joy. And so if that's something you want, watch a few more videos. Troy dives a little deeper in this. Feel free to send us a note. You've got our I think you probably have my email address, Nate@TaxProMarketer.com or Troy@TaxProMarketer.com. We're available if you want to, talk about this more. We can set up a time. This is something that we are going to be speaking more and more and more about in the future years. So
As we've seen the fruit of it.
Yeah. All right. So thank you for your time. We'll see you more.